Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nitzy coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. I wanted to talk about why do pros keep using the Sony C800G and another alternative right here. So if you guys do have any more comments or questions or video ideas, go ahead and drop it down below. I'm more than happy to get to it. So let's talk about this. So always, when you're picking out a microphone, you got to always think about your situation. Are you an artist that's only recording yourself in your home studio, or are you recording other people? So with me, I was in the situation where I'm both. Like, I record myself and other people. So I needed a microphone that was versatile. So I went with something like the UAD Sphere. So usually when I always used to think about mic modeling, I used to think about something like the Slate mic modeling, which I always thought was a joke to me. And I see that it has bad reviews. So that's how I feel. And, you know, anybody who's tried it down below, let me know. So I picked something like the UAD Sphere because it has all of these emulations and it's a little bit more versatile. So let's go over why this microphone is so, like, you know, timeless and people always been using it. So I'm gonna do a little mini series of like all of the emulations inside the Sphere that I like, because I never had seen nobody else talk about it with recording, and how like this will make a dramatic difference in the way like your whole recording session will go, just because of the sound, the way it's coming on the way in. Okay, so cool. You know, most definitely the first person that ever made me really start thinking deeply about a Sony C800G was Mariah Carey, because I peep, you know, whenever you're picking a microphone, you got to think about strengths and weaknesses. Like, is the microphone minimizing the weaknesses and maximizing the strengths? And I think about somebody like Mariah Carey, where she has a very feathery, you know, fairy tale type of voice. And I was like, wow, even she uses something like a C800G because it brings out more of her attributes, that good feathery fairy voice that she has. So, you know, that kind of sparked my interest, because I do record a couple of singers as well. So, you know, that's why I thought something like the UAD Sphere giving me the C800 would be very good. And after that, with the C800, we got to understand that it's a tube microphone. So tube microphones, you know, they have their own type of warmth type of characteristic to it. But it's very interesting with something like the C800G, looking at the frequency response. You know, it has a lot of activity in the high end. I would kind of say that the proper word for the C800G would be the word spicy. You know, the high end is very spicy. You can really start to hear every with the you know, the microphone. So it's kind of like a high resolution camera. When you have a high resolution camera and you take a picture, when you go in Photoshop, you don't have to make it sound any more high definition or more clean, because literally the camera that you took a picture with is high resolution. That same thing literally applies to microphones in your DAW. So if you have a high quality vocal chain, you know, like with the microphone or UAD, what it allows you to do, which is why I think UAD is so important, because if you can nail like that vocal chain in the beginning, it makes it so much easier for you to mix and just catch your vibe. So some people say, oh, well, I don't got UAD, Well, honestly, if you don't have it, I would tell you right now, if you have like a basic interface, you should just don't waste no time. Just save up, get a UAD interface. And also just get a Sphere microphone. I promise to you, you get that combination, is golden. I done had so many people in my comments say that, and it is true. It's true. If you get the Sphere as well as you get the UAD interface, you're gonna be perfect, because it's peanut butter and jelly. It's a combination that works together. You don't have to sit there and keep worrying about, oh, is this microphone gonna sound good with this? And you know, that's what the thing about music. You gotta have ear imagination to imagine how all of this combination of stuff is gonna sound like when you actually start to use it, and on your voice too. Sometimes you might use a microphone like a C800G, and maybe possibly it might not work for you because maybe you have too much brightness in your voice. So that's why I always say, like, people who have these really stupid bright voices, you know, maybe you might not want to use a C800G, but that's the good thing about the Sphere. It doesn't tie your hands behind your back. You got other options. All right, cool. So then after that, you know, somebody who always made me think about the Sony C800G, and which really made me have a problem with the C800G for a very long time, was Drake. Because, you know, I love Drake, I love his music, but it's just like the hype train. I don't like the hype train, you know, especially as an artist. If you want to blow, you got to get your own sound, you got to get your own swag. You know, Drake has already made it. So whenever I used to hear people always talk about, oh, C800G, I used to be like, man, like, come on, that's not gonna make you Drake. It's his talent, his life perspective, what he went through is who made Drake what he is. It's not no material object which is like a microphone. So yeah, for a long time that actually made me not want to use the C800 C800G ever. But then, you know, I'm just talking about my little brief background with the C800G. You know, I had somebody like Future. When I saw Future using something like the C800G on his vocal, that kind of blew my mind a little bit, because I realized that my voice is kind of like Future's voice, you know, where it's kind of like deep, and I like to use autotune. That's that same style. So sometimes you should look at that. You know, if you have an artist that you like, maybe look at their style, maybe what they like to use, and pick something around the ballpark, or understand why they're using that. You know what I mean? Not necessarily use something just because, oh, that artist used it, so I want to blow. That means I got to use it. Don't do that, because, you know, that's bad. That's going to get rid of your creativity. Like, this world that you live in is not here to promote your creativity. So that's why with my channel, like, I'm all about harvesting your creativity, always keeping you creative. Like, oh, what if I tried this with that? Or what if I tried this? Okay, cool. So yeah, I saw Future was using the C800G, and I was like, damn, you know what? That makes sense, because even though he got a deep voice, it's gonna be okay for him to use the C800G, because it's adding what he doesn't already have. So that's why I bought the C800, the Sphere, so I can use the C800, because I was like, man, I have a deep voice, so it won't even be a problem. It won't even be annoying if I use the C800 on my voice. So you gotta have the ear imagination to know how the shoe is gonna be on your foot when it comes through Amazon. You know what I mean? Like with Amazon, like when you ordering that shoe online, you don't never know if it's gonna fit you up until you actually put it on your foot. Kind of like how when you use a microphone, you don't know if it's gonna sound good on your voice or not until you actually use it. So always try to try these out, you know, no matter like where you live, try to book a local studio that has these microphones. So if you don't, then, you know, maybe sometimes you might have to take a chance, and if it don't sound good, you're gonna have to return it. So then after that, you know, we got somebody like Kanye West as well. So you just peeping the pattern. That's what spiked my interest with the C800G. It works on female singers, males with deep vocals. It also works on somebody like Kanye who's trying to get a soulful sound. It just works on a lot of sources. And you got to understand that a lot of this gear that has lasted like what, 30, 20, 40 years, people still talking about it, is because it simply just works. You know what I mean? It just works. It lets people just get creative. That's what you got to understand. The equipment, the microphone has to enable you to stay creative. You don't ever want to sit there and start thinking, like when you're driving and you got to turn into another lane, you don't like think for a second, when am I going to turn into another lane, right now or later? Like, no, you just put your blinker on and you turn. You feel me? It's instinctual. And that's what music has to be too. It's got to be instinctual. It's always got to be instinctual. It's always about the vibe and the flow. And speaking of flow, you got somebody like Baines, who's Young Thug and Gunner's engineer as well. And, you know, of course, I saw Gunner using the UAD Sphere, and there's a video, you should watch it, with Baines and Flo, who are Gunner and Young Thug's engineer, and they just talk about how they be using this microphone. And this microphone, you know, this UAD Sphere is so deep. Okay, cool. So now that we've kind of looked at everybody who uses it and how it can cover so many different type of voices, let's look at the actual app. So usually with the original Sony C800, you would only get two types of, you know, polar patterns, which is just unidirectional, which is, you know, front capsule, and after that you would have the omnidirectional, which records everything. Very interesting. I kind of see this like a saturator, really. I see this UAD Sphere kind of like a saturator. That's all it is to me, really, is a saturator. You know, it's just a microphone that's emulating all of those components, because that's the difference between this microphone and the original ones. You know, the tubes, the transformers, all of that stuff like that. You know, the capacitors, all the transistors, all that stuff that's in the microphones. You know, that's kind of what this plugin is like to me, the UAD Sphere. It's kind of like a glorified saturator. That's what I really see it as. But man, it's like one of the best ones though, if you considered it to be a saturator, because you also get all of those Polaroid patterns, and then also you can start mixing another microphone with this. So let's say if you like the C800 but you want to bring in like a different type of microphone, like a TLM 103 or 87 or all of that stuff, like it just makes music fun. And that's what I'm always looking for. I'm not like, with my channel, I'm not looking to just give you guys information. I'm looking to give you inspiration, you know, because once you get to a point, you know, even people who know everything, they can still watch my video and get some out of it, because it's all about inspiration. Once you know all the basics, once you know how to dribble, shoot, pass the basketball, okay, cool. We all in the NBA, you know. Once you know how to mix, EQ, compress, okay, cool, you know how to mix. The only person who's going to be the best one is the one who loves the game the most, the one who stays in practice, the one who's always studying the game and loving the game. So that's what I always try to tell y'all. So yeah, you get the proximity effect, and I usually do push the proximity just a little bit, just because the way the human ear works, it's like a seesaw. If you hear more brightness, it's just going to naturally make things sound thinner, just because that's just the way the human ear works. It's like a seesaw. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you hear more lows, you know, it's just going to make things sound darker, just because that's how the seesaw of the human ear works. You know what I mean? So you get more Polaroid patterns, you get the proximity. I usually push it to get a little bit of more of that low end, you know what I mean, type of situation, more of that capturing that low end. And let's also talk about the preamp. When you're using the preamp for the Sphere microphone, I feel like you got to use like the cleanest preamp. You know, Jason Goldberg, which is Young Boy's engineer, he opened my head up to that. And realistically, you know, he always just talked about how, hey, you know, like you got to use the clean preamp, because once you start to use a dirty preamp, it kind of starts to like take away from the sound. It doesn't really sound like a C800 anymore, honestly. It sounds like something different, which is cool. But I like to use actually the stock preamp. I actually been using the stock preamp on UAD, not right now, but when I rap on my live streams, if you check, I've been using the stock preamp for console, and I've been using the LA2A Legacy just because it's the cleanest one. So I like to get that clean signal, everything clean, you know. Don't add no more harmonics or any more saturation or nothing like that. Let the Sphere microphone do what they got to do and just be pure and crystal clear. All right, cool. So when I'm in the DAW real fast, let's talk about how I like to process the you know, the vocals with this type of microphone. So this is my own personal template, and let's go over it. The very first thing I like to use is I'm understanding that this microphone is making stuff extremely bright. So I like to use something like the Mac DSP AC202, and I use this default preset just due to the fact that I'm using the tape to soft saturate the vocals. So that's before it even hits the auto-tune, you know. Sometimes with the auto-tune, if there's like too much activity at a certain place, the auto-tune is going to get distracted. So I like to hit the auto-tune with an even signal. That's why I compress on the way in or hit it with a layer of compression in the beginning if I don't have UAD console. So yeah, the AC202, a genius, absolutely incredible, because it has a way that it rounds off the top end. So the auto-tune is so smooth and so crispy and so just freaking mainstream when you do a combination like that. All right, then after that, let's look at my vocal chain. This is my personal vocal chain. Ever since I got the UAD C800 Sphere, you know, the microphone, I got the LX version. And the reason why I got the LX over the DLX is you got to understand the physical shape of the damn microphone. Like this one has a smaller diaphragm compared to the other one, which gives you a tighter sound. Think about it like a lens, like a camera. If you have a wide body lens, right, and you take a picture of your room, right, and let's say you got a dirty room, it's going to capture more of that nasty stuff that's in the background, kind of like with a vocal sometimes, you know, depending on where you're recording at. But if you have like a normal camera that has a smaller lens, well, guess what? It's going to take a tighter picture, kind of like this microphone. It takes a tighter, you know, image of the artist, what it's putting into it. So that's why I picked the LX over the DLX, you know. So cool. Let's look at my stock EQ. Like I've been on a rampage, only using straight stock stuff lately. Just because I'm getting to that point where I'm making music, it's like being a chef. You know, originally when people don't know how to cook, they got to go to the grocery store and buy pre-seasoned chicken, pre-seasoned all that stuff. So all they got to do is slap it on the grill. That's kind of like people who don't know how to mix or who are learning. But once you kind of know how to cook, once you know how to mix, you just want the raw ingredients, the raw stuff, and you're going to add your own flavor. So I've been using a lot of flavorless stock stuff. All right, cool. So I have like the EQ7 band. I'm going to show you how I like to process a Sony C800G. I'm not just going to talk. I'm going to show you. So I like to do this EQ move right here. And I did it based upon my voice. So my voice is not really too deep. It's more like it could go either way. Like if you watch my tutorials, sometimes I could do like a high voice or I could do a low voice. So the main thing with my voice specifically is like the mid-range, you know what I mean? So I kept the EQ very simple right here, not rolling off too much mud or nothing like that, you know, just tightening up the low end. Especially because the C800 doesn't capture too much low end anyway, so I don't need an aggressive move for like the low end of my vocal. Then I did like a little mid band dip. There's always kind of like a little room resonance, and then there's kind of like this little boost cut type of situation where I cut down at exactly 4.5, and that's kind of like usually where the harshness is always at. I used to always use like 2 de-essers, and one of them was working there. And then after that, I have that high shelf. You know, the Avid EQ has a specific way when you do the high shelf, trust me, like it just really adds this type of crispiness. So you got to also understand the tonal quality of the EQs. You know, all of these EQs got a different sound to it, is what I'm trying to tell you. You know, I used to always use the R EQ, but now I just use the stock EQ because it's just making the microphone better. The day I used the C800, I was like, what? I had to literally do my whole template all over again from scratch. You know what I mean? Because the template will change. The microphone and the template, it will completely change. You know what I mean? Because now you have a whole different set of frequencies hitting your template, you know, and also capturing your room in a whole different way. You know, you might try this template or you might copy my settings and it might sound horrible on you because you don't have my voice and you don't have this room as well. So you got to always understand that you got to custom tailor stuff to yourself. You know what I mean? So then I have something like the Precision de-esser. I used to always use the R de-esser, but the R de-esser, the release time is just not good when it comes to rap. You know, I'm gonna do a video on how to do a shootout with all of the de-essers, because it's important with rap. You know, all these complicated but all of these flows will start to confuse the de-esser, and like the release time. Let's say if you say something like coulda put them away, like the release, if you say that fast enough, depending on the tempo, you're just gonna hear it. The de-essing becomes audible. So, you know, sometimes I know people who like to manually ride in the automation, which is very smart too, before it hits the chain. That's very smart. But I like to use the precision de-esser, and that's because it just sounds like analog. It sounds so smooth. It sounds like a part of the reason why it's de-essing so is like the actual saturation has like a smooth way that it handles the essence. So pay attention to this. Like, this is kind of like EQing into compression, where like the crossover, you see this crossover? I got this from Seth Firkins. So the crossover of like a 5, you know, where it's boosting that is like, it's kind of like boosting and cutting. I usually have it at 5K. So like I'm boosting it, and then the de-esser is also compressing it about like 1 to 3 or sometimes even 5. But for the most part, man, like it just sounds so crispy and like not harsh. And go watch my live streams and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Like the vocals always sound so bright, but like not annoying. Like you can listen to the song forever. And then we have a multi-band preset. I actually got this from Jason Goldberg, which is NBA Youngboy's engineer. So I got these presets and I just started tweaking them to my voice. You know, I said, damn, you know, I like that sound, so let me just go ahead and keep adding on to it. You know what I mean? That's how a lot of great things in society was made. People saw, okay, that's a bicycle right there. Okay, let me make a tricycle. Okay, that's a 2-door car. Let me make a 4-door car. Okay, that's a jet that can hold 2 people. Okay, let me make a jet that can hold 10 people. You know, that's what humanity is about, always improving on ideas. So it's nothing wrong with using presets, but if the preset don't sound good on your voice, you shouldn't force yourself to use it. That's what Nixon is trying to say. Okay, then after that, we going deep. So this damn near EQ move is damn near the same one as this one, but this one is static and this one is dynamic, which is so crazy. But pop vocal, my mid-range is wide open, and that's what I said. I feel like that's the strength of my voice, is the mid-range. So my mid-range is wide open, not compressing the lows too much, and just a little bit kind of like, you know, controlling that top end, you know, not letting it go all over the place. And then the last thing that we have right here usually is like the SSL E-channel, like not even doing anything, just to give me a little salt and pepper seasoning. But look at this, like a dB and a half. Like these moves are nothing crazy. And that's why I really like this template that I've been using with, you know, this C800, because it's all about getting a good take. You know, back in the day, go watch some of them people from back in the day. They say, oh, I used to use a good microphone, a good preamp, a good compression, and then that was pretty much it. So I said, damn, how the hell I got all this technology and I'm doing more? Like, technology is supposed to make you do less. So that's what I'm thinking about. That's why I started using way less plugins. So you know what I mean? It's always a situation like that. Then we got the RVOX really for just the gate and just like the vocal finisher. So yeah, that was pretty much the video for today. So I talked about the C800, why it works, mindset of picking a microphone. I also talked about how I like to use it in the DAW to process my own vocals, how I like to track with it. So yeah, that's pretty much me just covering the C800 in general. You know, I hate the people who keep just talking about the microphone, just, oh yeah, Drake used it. Oh yeah, let me show you the $10,000 vocal chain. Oh yeah, but they don't ever go into detail about it. So I don't give a damn about what the actual thing is. I want to go into detail. I want to know why people have been using it for 20 to 30 years. There's a reason behind all of this stuff. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I got a couple templates with the C800. If you want to check it out for free, go look at my channel. You'll see it. Just want to say, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate it now. Peace.